Welcome back to MVM. I'm here today with a preview of Imnia, which is coming soon to Kickstarter from BlackSea Interactive. Imnia is kind of a tableau building, city building game where you are going to be placing buildings out in front of you, bringing characters into those buildings, and trying to be the first to complete the wonder of your civilization. So the game is spread out here in front of me, and you will notice that this is a Kickstarter prototype, so not everything I have is final. Some of this stuff, for example, the exotic goods here are definitely not final, so just keep that in mind as you're watching this video. So I have set up the game already, and you will see a variety of different components. The meat of the game are going to be these building cards, and everyone starts with 4 building cards that do a variety of basic actions. Over the course of the game, you're going to be able to purchase more building cards from this market here. And these buildings do a variety of different things. First of all, they all belong to a type, they all have an ability, they all have a cost, and they all have a character that they can house, which is going to become important later on in the game. In addition to the buildings, you're going to have that deck of character cards. There are a ton of characters in this game. As you build buildings, you will then be able to recruit characters to come into those buildings. In addition, you have quests to complete, exotic goods to trade, unique buildings to build, and achievements that you can complete during the game. And there's always 5 of these achievements that are selected randomly and placed out at the beginning of the game. In addition, you're going to have those wonders that I mentioned earlier. The goal of the game is to completely build one of these wonders. The person to build the wonder first is the winner. So it is a race game. There are no actual victory points scored at all in this game, but there is an influence track that is printed up here. And the reason this influence track matters is because the first player to reach 7 is going to get their selection of wonder, and then they're going to begin to build that wonder. In addition to everything on the board, you're going to see this exotic goods market. There are 3 types of exotic goods: silk, gems, and ebony. These can be purchased and traded throughout the game in a variety of different ways that I'll talk about. And then up here, you'll see the 4 basic resources of the game. In addition, there are trade goods that can be built by some of your buildings, and then 2 types of currency: bags of gold and coat of arms. Bags of gold are your basic currency that are going to be used to spend to build things and buy things throughout the game. Your coat of arms are a harder to get currency, and they are the only currency that can be used to build your wonder. The game is played over a variety of rounds. In each round is going to take place 1 season of a year. There is no set number of turns you're going to play until someone finishes that wonder, and you're going to go through each season. During each season, something different is going to happen. During spring, for example, you'll wipe all these buildings and you'll refill the buildings from the building deck. You always have 3 buildings available, plus a peek over here at what is coming next. So spring is when these get wiped out. So after you do that start of the turn setup, you're going to take actions in the game. There are a variety of different actions you can take, and there's also a worker placement element. Each player is going to have 3 workers that they have during the game. Now, during this time, you can activate your buildings, and what you're going to do is just take one of your workers, place it in that building, and do whatever the building says. A lot of these buildings are going to have you gaining resources, crafting materials, building goods and things like that, or generating money. They can do a lot of different things. Some can even have a take that element where you're kind of messing with your opponent a little bit. You can place on any of your buildings. You can also choose to place on an opponent's building. If they have a building that can craft or gain them goods, you can place your guy on there instead and gain those goods. Now, that doesn't block them from doing it. For example, I could take this and put it on one of Blue's buildings, and they can still come in and place on their building as well. So it doesn't completely block them, but it does give them a influence. So one player would go up, Blue could go up in this instance, and you actually lose an influence. So the red player would go down. So you can do that, but that is a way to trade influence with other players. that's one of the main ways you're going to actually use a worker. So you're only going to be able to activate 3 different buildings. In addition, there are 3 spots out here that actually will use a worker. You can take the first player marker, you can discard a quest, or you can demolish a building. The reason that this is important is because you can only have 3 quests in your hand and 12 buildings in front of you. If a building is just not doing you any good, especially some of those level 1 buildings, you can choose to discard them later. You lose influence, you lose 2 influence when you do that, but you can make a space to get a new building, maybe a level 3 building that you can now afford, that's going to do better for you. So managing that tableau of 12 buildings is a key part of the game. It's kind of a puzzle that you want to solve. You want to have the best buildings at the best time to do that. So outside of those actions, you can take any number of the free actions that you want, and it's going to go around in play order until everyone has passed. Some of those free actions you can do are complete an achievement if you've got what you need to complete an achievement. Donate coat of arms towards building your wonder. These wonders need a escalating value of points to build. You'll notice 7, 14, and then 21. You can only do this once per season, so I can't race up to the top of that chart and then just build my wonder all in one turn. So you do have to wait a little bit. People could potentially catch up to you. So these are all free actions. You can build buildings, complete quests, hire characters, and these characters all have a higher cost, and they will come into your building. So there's, like I said, a variety of different actions. The most commonly used actions are going to be to activate your buildings, but you're always going to want to build buildings when you can, because that's really the only way to grow your tableau and to get more actions. Also, every time you build a building, you're going to get an influence. So it is a very clean cut and easy way to gain influence. In fact, constructing a building, having someone use your building, or building one of these unique buildings is the only way to gain that influence. These unique buildings are very powerful. They do require you to have built other buildings before, and you'll see that up here in the top. When you do spend the resources, you'll take the building, put it in front of you. Not only do you have a new action, but you also have a purple Meeple. And this Meeple is going to come join your little squad here, and it can be now used, basically giving you a 4th action. So you want to get these buildings earlier in the game and start taking benefit of those actions. Once everyone has passed, you're going to move on to the next round. You take the round tracker, you move it over, for example, now to summer. Now, during summer, the boats come back in, and this happens every summer. During the course of the game, you're going to have the option to build these little boats. And as you do, you're going to take a boat Meeple and you're just going to put it in your supply, indicating that you have a boat. You can also build ships, which are just better boats. When it gets to summer, all those boats come back. So for example, if I have built 2 boats up to this point, I get to look at this exotic goods track and take 2 of any good I want. And you notice when I take them off the board, I have now uncovered a value. Later, I can take an action to sell these goods to someone by putting them back on the goods track, and I get an amount of coat of arms tokens equal to that value. So like I said, coat of arms tokens are hard to get. You need them to do those wonders and for some of the other costs of characters and things like that, but it's very easy to get them if you have a lot of boats. However, if somebody sees me, for example, buying up a lot of this ebony, they can use their boats to take ebony as well. Somebody else can take ebony, and you'll notice the price can drop on that ebony really fast. So you want to kind of time it. So if I come and I sell some back for 4, maybe some other player's been waiting for that. Now they're going to get 6 when they trade their 2 in. And the way you trade these goods back in is a special building called the port that's going to come up. So there's a lot of interconnecting pieces happening in this game, a lot of things that kind of rely on each other and stack together, and a lot of different unique buildings that are difficult for me to talk about all of them in the limited time I have, but you're starting to get an idea of how the game plays. Then in summer, after everyone does this, you go through and you do your actions again. You build the buildings, you complete your quests, you should go for those achievements, and so on and so forth until everyone passes, and you shift till autumn. Again, autumn is kind of the same thing. You're still taking your basic turns, except in autumn, it's easier to craft goods. Whenever you go to a building that can craft you goods in autumn, it's going to craft you double the amount. So if I go somewhere, for example, that makes weapons, I'm going to take 2 of those weapon tokens and put them in front of me instead. These crafted goods, again, are used for a lot of things. Certain quests are going to require you to have these goods. Certain achievements are going to require you to have them. Certain characters can be paid for with these goods. So like I said, again, a lot of interconnecting pieces in this puzzle. So during autumn, you're going to get 2, so you kind of want to save up your crafting actions and do all your crafting in autumn. You can do it earlier, sure, but you're really benefiting from waiting until the last minute, maybe even using all of your workers to craft. And don't forget that you can craft in other people's buildings. So you can really end up getting a lot of goods, and you're going to want these goods because the next round is winter. As you move to winter, you don't actually take any actions during winter. In winter, you need to prevent your characters from freezing. As I'd said earlier, you're going to be getting these characters, buying them, and bringing them into your tableau. Every one of these characters has an ability at the bottom that you can trigger during your turn, but you have to keep them warm during the winter. If you fail to keep them warm, either through giving them clothing, tonics that keep them alive, or attire, different goods that you can create to clothe them, if you don't have that, they will die. You lose the character and influence on the influence track. So you definitely want to plan ahead. If you recruit a bunch of characters in autumn, but do not have what you need to clothe them, you're going to lose them immediately. So winter can be pretty punishing if you haven't planned ahead for it. Once that's done, you shift back to spring, you wipe all the buildings, you add new buildings, and then you continue the game on like that. So timing your actions to a specific season is very important, but there are no set limits. You're just going to keep playing until someone reaches 7 influence, in which case they'll take that wonder and put them in front of them. At that point, on their turn, they can start doing that action and they can start building their wonder. So it's going to take them at least 3 seasons to do that. Once they're done, they win the game. So like I said earlier, definitely race mechanic, and it has a hard stop when someone finishes building that wonder. So you're all going to be neck and neck, trying to watch their opponents and see who's getting close to that 7 points and close to starting their wonder, because once they get that wonder, they're potentially 3 turns away. But getting the 21 coat of arms you need to complete this is quite a task. You'll need to be doing quests and hunting for achievements and things like that in order to reach it. So this is kind of a thinking game with a bunch of different pieces kind of working together in ways that might not be obvious on the first playthrough, but hopefully after watching this video you have a better idea of how everything comes together and how the game is played. This is Imnia. Again, this is on Kickstarter right now, so go ahead and take a look at their Kickstarter page. Come back here, ask any questions, leave any comments. I'll do my best to answer them. And as always, thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, follow us, take a look at everything we do, and thank you for watching.